If you're watching this video, I guess you are considering or have been considering starting your own home bakery. And as someone who has been home baking, then switched to a physical store and then back to home baking, these are the things, tips maybe, mainly, I wish someone had shared with me when I started out my home baking business, and also things I have come to learn along the way as I've been home baking. My next point would be, you need to understand that there will be weeks where you will sell out. There will be days, there are times, I feel like 2022 I haven't had one of those, but mainly because I was firstly like keeping things to myself. But 2020, 2019, I remember like 2019 there were months I'd be booked like 2 months in advance. 2020 as well, before COVID. Like 2018, 2019 would be booked months in advance. And then there'd be times you'd sit there and you're like, is my phone broken? Did something happen? Is there bad information about me that I don't know about? Where are clients coming? So you need to understand there's rainy days and there's days that are so good that you'll be constantly busy. There are times you'll be so busy you can't take up every order. You just have to tell your clients, I'm fully booked, I can recommend you to someone else, or just accept I can't do it. So it's something you need to understand before you even start. Not every day will be perfect. Sometimes you'll have a full year of booked. Like for me, 2017, I was booked Jan to December. I remember around April, May, I was already booked for December. That by the time we were planning our family holiday, I already knew I can't travel on these dates because I've already confirmed with clients. And after that, I think is when it hit me. Family comes first, so I should book holiday before I book orders. But yeah, it happens like that. Some years you'll be booked full year, some years you'll be booked some months will be booked a week. It's normal. It's nothing about you. It's not about your business. Okay, sometimes it's about your business and what you're selling, but you need to understand it's not always going to be busy. Sometimes it's broke and you just accept it. Like 2022, economy has been so difficult for everyone that even your regular clients understand they can't afford cake at this time, so they pick and choose which holidays, which birthdays are we going to celebrate, and it's fine. We can't fault them for the economy. My other point would be, start your baking business because you're passionate about it or you're definitely good at it. I have mentioned, and I keep repeating this, I am not passionate about baking. But at the same time, I've also mentioned I probably don't understand what a passion is, because why would someone who's not passionate about something do it for 10 years and start teaching people about it? Something is not clicking in my head. But life is weird. But do it because you're definitely passionate about it, but at the same time understand you can be passionate about something and suck at it. What's something I'm passionate about, but I know I can't do it like as a business. I'm passionate about like hobbies, like horse riding, swimming, but at the same time I am a coward. And I also know I am a warrior person. Like as a horse riding person, like I can't even imagine I'm the one who's whipping a horse at it to walk fast or run, or what do we call it, gallop. Like me and the horse will just be crying. Like, yeah, so you also need to be good at it, and your heart knows I can do this. Don't be like me who's half nakuanga na roho weye sana. And also I say you start because you're passionate about it or good at it, because let me tell you, baking is time consuming. Baking takes a toll on you. It's a mental thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a physical thing. Like it uses all of you. You need to think, how do I do this design? Sometimes you'll get a client, same cake you always make, hey, I want an orange chiffon cake, but can you please use less sugar? Hey, I want this. Like you have to think, if I reduce this amount of sugar to make it less sweet, how would the cake bake? Because remember, reducing one ingredient could affect how the cake flavor or the cake outcome is. So you have to always keep those things in mind. Like, you're mentally thinking, how do I do this? What's the best way to achieve this? Physically, you're standing on your feet the whole day. You're straining your neck, you're straining your back. Like, you're getting an arm workout with fondant. Emotionally, like, let me tell you, the number of times you cry, literal tears or heart tears, because of a cake. The number of times you look at a cake and you're like, I'm going to throw this thing into the bin, are way too many. There are times you will like cry over a cake and then tell yourself, what am I even crying about? It's literally just cake, especially fondant. Sometimes fondant will show you, like, you've draped the first cake perfect, the second cake perfect, the next cake you drape like this, the fondant starts pulling away from the cake. You try fix it, there's a hole on this other side that was initially perfect, and then the fourth cake is perfect again. You've cried over the third one and then the fourth one is perfect. Cakes show me dust. Like, after all that, people consume cakes in like less than 3.5 seconds. After all the hard work you put in, and then once the cake is cut in, like, gone in, what's that? Is it gone in 5 seconds or something? So it's something, baking, this business can genuinely crush your soul. So before you start it, think about it. I said in my entrepreneurship, lessons I've learned from entrepreneurship, if you know for sure you don't think you can be an entrepreneur, baking is definitely not for you, because it takes a toll on you. So start because you're passionate, because when you feel like this is the path that you want to take, for sure it'll be definitely much easier. And I tell this to some people. Some parents come bring their, like, before they pay for their kids to learn how to bake, they are more interested about the baking than the child is. And I usually try to advise them, why don't you do the class instead of them? Because it sounds like you're the one who wants to learn, but you feel like you won't. Because I've seen, sometimes I get students who've been forced to learn by their parents, and you can just tell. You try to teach them something, it won't click, they're not interested, they're not bothered, and they'll be like, let me just remove it and we'll go eat the cake. And that's what I'm saying. They're not passionate, they're not interested. My next point, as much as I said, find your niche, also do not niche down too hard. With my point for don't niche down too hard, as I said, learn everything that you would need to know about your business. But here's the thing about niching. I said learn everything that you need to learn about your business, and then find your niche. That should be part 2 of learning, like deciding what your business is about. Find your niche, but then at the same time, don't niche down too hard. Because if I'm a person who only does explicit cakes, or explicit designs for baby shower, what are they called, bridal showers, or just those other explicit parties, if that's my main niche, once I decide, okay, I want to do weddings, an extremely religious person is already not going to want to be associated with me. If my niche is I'm going to do alcohol, like booze cakes, already I've removed myself from the target market of any Muslim or any other religious, those people who don't want to be associated with people who drink alcohol. That's the problem with being too, like, narrowed down. It's not a bad thing to niche down, that's a point, but at the same time, consider your business in the future. If in the end this is not where I want to be, what are my options? Will I start a new business name, or will I be able to rebrand using the same name after I niched it down so hard? Everyone knows me as I'm the baker who does those naughty cakes, I'm the baker who only deals with alcoholic cakes. Will I be able to, like, switch? Because you can, even without using, like, those extremes, say if I started my company called Wangeshi's Cupcakes, and then now I want to start doing, no cupcakes, Wangeshi's Donuts. And then now, 2 years later, I've learned how to bake, I've learned how to etc. Like do other things. Will I be able to market myself as Wangeshi's Donuts to other people? Because even myself, I feel like, and I've had this feeling for a while, when I got my name, Pastry Pleasures, firstly, I called my business Pastry Pleasures before I even knew how to make pastries, like akina samosas, donuts. I learned them later. But sometimes people call and they're like, do you sell pastry sheets? Do you sell pastry? Like, I don't even like doing pastries. So my business name, there are people who associate the name with specific things, but then when they find I don't do that, they're so confused. So that's a problem with having like a niche business name, a niche like very narrow. So as much as niche down, still learn every aspect of your business name. That way, if you feel like I don't want to just be Wangeshi's Donuts, I want to sell cakes, I want to do weddings, maybe call it Wangeshi's Bakery. That way, when you feel like, let me broaden my business, it's much easier for you to transition as opposed to calling yourself Wangeshi's Donuts and then your business is now always Wangeshi's Donuts and you're trying to get people to buy wedding cakes, graduation cakes. My next point, and I don't know why this wasn't among the first points, figure out your cake prices. I will never ever 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 stress enough that you need to cost your prices well. Your cakes, your cupcakes, your weddings, your classes, cost right. Eventually it will be a good thing, because obviously when you start out in a business, you might not always have like the perfect prices. You might have to be a little lower, a little higher because you're starting out. But always ensure, even if you're not making a profit, you're breaking even. At least your business can give itself back. Like you can repurchase flour, you can repurchase sugar, you can pay your employees, your utilities, your overheads. At least those things that must be paid will be paid, as opposed to like copying other people and then figuring out, oh, this isn't working for me, let me recalculate. Calculate your prices before you even like figure out. Go to the supermarket, check every item, how much it costs, sit down, do your calculations. I will definitely leave in the cards and in the description bar the playlist for how to calculate your cake prices, your overheads, your labor, your marketing, all that. I will your profit, I will leave them in the cards and in the description bar for you to check out. That way when you start, don't go on losses. Following up on that point, you've calculated your prices correctly. Don't ever doubt your worth in a business. Yes, I am starting Pastry Pleasures. I've calculated my prices. I want to sell my cakes for 3,000 bob per kg. But there's Wangeshi's Cakes who's been baking for 2 years, but her cakes are 1,800 bob. Why should never feel like I'm too expensive, etc, because I've already told you, figure out who your target audience is, your target market. Number 2, you've calculated correctly. Wangeshi's Cakes might have been in the industry for 2 years but has never sat down to calculate their prices, so they're not making a profit. Wangeshi's Cakes might have a financer somewhere who, even if she's making losses, is paying for all their bills, so they don't even realize they're making losses. Other people never needed to buy anything. They inherited all their tools. They come from a rich background, so they're doing this as a hobby. They don't need the money. So never doubt your self-worth or your prices. As long as you know you're not just pricing to price, you're not stealing from your customers, you are worth every penny that you sell your item for. Also, to like add on to that point, don't let clients undermine your prices. That thing where some people mannerlessly like to tell you, but ABC Bakery sell at 2,500, you just started out where you're selling at 3,000. It's okay to politely tell them, I can't afford those prices at the moment. You can alternatively get a smaller cake or just purchase from ABC Bakery, because that's where their pocket figures. Because some people will try to take advantage of you, try to remind you you're starting out, but at the end, know your worth, know that you're doing this, you want to be in this for much longer, because if you're making losses, it will be very hard for you to keep doing the same thing for long periods while making losses. So don't let them take advantage of you. Some people are just sketch or cheap, to put it politely. There's people who can afford a 10,000 bob cake, but they just choose not to. So they will try and undermine or make you feel bad about what you're worth. So don't feel like that because of someone else. My next point would be, do not waste your time trying to be like other bakers. Figure out what will stand out for you. For example, I mentioned in my 10 years of baking, I used to watch a lot of Cake Boss, Yolanda Gump, and then I realized, as much as I like being creative, I am not that artistic that I can sculpt. Like, there's not a day in my life I've looked at a cake like this and be like, if I cut here, it will come into a crocodile or it will become a shoe. So, like, figure things like that out. Like, instead of just trying to be like every other baker, find what is it. Don't waste too much time trying to be like them, trying to learn from them, only to realize a year later, this is not for me. You already know what you want from your business, so try your best to, like, from the get-go, perfect on what you think, this is what I'll be. And then maybe as you're growing, you'll realize, oh, I can kind of see how to make a shoe, and then practice on that, and then, we don't know, maybe it'll be like Beata, who makes like really amazing cake shoes. My next point, and this is something some of my students, I try to explain to them, you do not need all the equipment when you're starting out. As I said, I think in my other video, I started my business with 600 shillings. I just went and bought what I thought ingredients to make 12 cupcakes and a 6-hole cupcake tray. And then when I was paid for those I baked twice. When I was paid for those, I went and bought a second cupcake tray and then grew my business from there. I didn't start with a big hand mixer. I didn't have a big oven. I started with a Mwiko, and then my mom got for me a hand mixer. And then now, after years, I bought a stand mixer, a big oven. But there are people who, like, they've just started out, they want the same hand mixer, they want the same oven, they want, like, so to be in the same spot as me. 7 years into the industry, someone has just finished learning and they want to be at that spot. It doesn't work like that. Yes, you might financially be able to purchase those items, but you don't necessarily need them. They're expenses. Like for me, my stand mixer, when I do like 1 kilo cakes, I hardly use it. To the point where sometimes if someone orders a 1 kilo cake, I decide, let me bake for the family as well. That way I can make a bigger batch using my stand mixer and my oven, so that I'm not just using my oven to make 12 cupcakes. So those are things you need to consider. Don't spend too much money buying everything you think you will need and then realizing it wasn't even worth it. Sometimes a good hand mixer could last you longer. For a good example I can give is my stand mixer can't mix a 1 kilo cake, but it can mix from 2 kilos, 1.5, 2 kilos comfortably. But there's a mixer, mine is a 7.5 liter, a 20 liter stand mixer can mix a 1 kg cake. As I came to learn later, the price difference isn't double. So if I knew that beforehand, I would have just saved up for a little longer and gotten the bigger stand mixer as opposed to what I ended up getting. But we live and learn. Don't make the same mistakes I did. I was in a rush to get a stand mixer and then realized a little later I still need a hand mixer, but if I had waited to just get a bigger one, I wouldn't have needed to get the one I got. My next point, take good photos. I mentioned in my marketing video, obviously, cards, description box, photos help you market your business, because when a client comes to your page, your Instagram page, your Facebook page, whatever page you're using to market yourself, they scroll and see your work. It's your portfolio. So if you just take just random click post, you're not putting in the effort to take good photos, your background is nice, the cake might look amazing, but they'll just look at it and just, I don't like this person's work. So they'll just stop. With that point, stop posting Instagram, what do you call them, Pinterest or other people's works, like plagiarism, onto your page to market yourself. Bad photos and plagiarized photos do the same exact thing. Make people doubt your ability to be able to achieve a design. So I would always recommend, be honest. Eventually you'll be able to purchase that big camera, be able to do professional shoots for each of your cakes, but at the same time, take good photos. And that doesn't mean you must, because I get this question a lot, what camera do you use to take your photos? It's not the camera. Like, two of us could be using the same phone, and sometimes I even tell people I film videos on my phone and they're so doubtful, but I take time to learn how to use my phone, how to use my camera. I've gone to photography school as one of the things I thought I'd pursue career-wise. So I have a skill. So no matter what camera I use or phone, I'm more likely to get a better photo, as opposed to someone, if, say, I have no skill whatsoever, I can choose tomorrow to go buy the latest Canon camera that costs $8,000, but then when I come to use it, I'm still producing as poor quality work as someone else. So don't purchase them. Don't get the most expensive equipment. And also, it's not worth it, like posting work that's not yours, because you're just making other people doubt you. Just post quality work. Show, like, we live in a day and age where behind the scenes are worth it. So if you're behind the scenes and whatever is on your profile don't match up, you're eventually hurting your business in the end. So take good photos, post good photos, you're marketing your business, and in the end it's a good career move. My next point would be, enjoy the journey. Don't get stuck in perfectionism, which is something I did when I started out. I really wanted to be like those bakers I was seeing on Food Network, on TLC. But now when I look back, sometimes I look back at my cakes and I was like, I was having much more fun in 2013, 2014, as opposed to now, where like all my cakes have to be perfect. Like, I am here so much, but basically enjoy the journey. Don't get stuck in that perfectionist feel that you even lose yourself as a person, as a baker. Like, you forget why you actually started, because in the end, when you look back, like I've been looking back 10 years later, and you see where you started and where you are now, you actually feel such a sense of pride to have achieved as much as you have. For some people it will take a year to like improve. Some of us take longer to get to the finish line. So enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, have fun while you're at it. You don't have to be so rigid, so strict, like it has to work out, it has to be like this. I try to remind myself, as much as I don't like it, it's not my cake. The person who needs to like it has to be the client, and that's now my priority. In as much as I want the perfect Instagram photo, I have to remember I'm not the consumer, I'm not the final person who gets a say into this cake. So I prefer, let me send the client the photo. If they hate it, then at least I know, since I also didn't like it, I'll change. And yes, there's times where I hate a cake and I will definitely change before. But yeah, don't get too stuck on perfectionism, although you can be stuck a little, but don't get stuck too much on perfectionism that you forget why you actually started out in the first place. My next point, and we've discussed this with Pfizer, set your policies and stick to them. It's something, even to date, 10 years later, I am still not always strict with my policies, but always stick to your policies. If you decide I want 70% deposit, it has to be 70% deposit. If you say you're working hours at this and this time, stick to that. Don't let people take advantage of you. Don't let people take advantage of your business. Stick to your policies. In the long run, you'll be happier, as opposed to you trying to please all your clients and then hurting yourself, because you'd rather be called, like, what was I called? Niliambo usikue mgumu. Or I've been told severally, don't be so rigid. Yeah, that's what they literally last month someone said, don't be so rigid with your prices. And when I tried to explain to them, I'm not being rigid, I'm literally telling you that's the best price I can genuinely give. They're like, but you've still not given me a discount. I'm like, because there's no discount to give. But they were so rude that to the point where even if I comfortably could give a discount, I wasn't going to give a discount because of how they were insisting, don't be so rigid, don't be this, don't be that. Stick to your policies, because if there's anything I've come to learn, anytime I've not stuck to my policies, like say being comfortable telling someone it's okay, just go with the cake and then M-Pesa me later, I have waited for that money to the point where I was like, I give up. I'm not going to wait any longer. Stick to your policies. Eventually, you'll be happier as opposed to trying to go around in circles asking for payment to be finalized. My next point, follow and engage with like-minded people in your industry. Follow other bakers in your area or people who can give and share advice. And that's also to add on to the point of finding a community. But in as much as I say engage with them, talk to them, seek advice from them, always remember these people are running a business. And I think it's because I personally choose to share more than other people. I get a lot of DMs asking for advice, seeking help. And in that getting people asking for advice, seeking help, I also get a lot of backlash because I didn't help someone the way they wanted to be helped. Sometimes someone wants a recipe, they've already taken an order, but then when I tell them I'm not comfortable with sharing that recipe for free, they get angry because why won't you give me this recipe but you've shared another one? There's recipes that are so basic, I don't care about giving up. There's some recipes I've already shared with my students, they've shared with their friends, and that's also something people need to understand. Sometimes when I teach, some people don't care to not share the recipe. I will literally be in class and someone will take a photo of the recipe and share it with their friend. So if the recipe has already been distributed with 100 people on WhatsApp, me putting it up on YouTube affects nothing for my business. So that's something people need to understand. I'm not refusing to share, but there's only so much you can give for free, because most times it's not that I won't help. I usually say, I don't offer that for free. I'm not going to post that on YouTube, but if you still want it, you're welcome to come for class, or you can purchase the recipe from me, it's this price. And the reactions I get sometimes, I'm usually like, but you're the one who needed help, not me who needed the money. So why don't I get it? But yeah, I get a lot of backlash when I refuse to help. My point is, engage with other people who will help you out, but at the same time, realize it's a business. There's only so much someone can share without hurting themselves, breaking their back. I wouldn't be comfortable going to bakers who I talk to. Personally, if I have an order which I don't know how to do, I will ask my baker friends. I'll ask Say, I'll ask Gigi, I'll ask Beata. And if they are not, for SMBC, Beata is the one who taught me how to make it, but it was give and take. Before I could take from her, I had to give something. It wasn't teach me by force. But that's my point. Those are all the points. I hope you start your home baking business soon. I hope you won't have a challenge and it will be much easier for you as opposed to how it was for me. And I hope you keep coming back to the channel for more tips and more advice. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.